If it's not grown organically, it's grown with pesticides. In the case of bread, let's say, wheat has been sprayed with Roundup resistant sprays and chemicals. And these are forever chemicals that stay in your body. Feeding our kids bread that's not organic, that's what you're eating. It just makes common sense that if it's not organic, it's been grown with some form of pesticide, insecticide, herbicide, something. Cancer is a scary word. A lot of people just automatically go into fear. And what you go through is so horrible. It's horrific. Sometimes you go inwards and you don't ask for help and you just try to survive. You stick to your house and you go to the treatments and you don't talk to people, you don't share it on social media, and you just go through it kind of alone.
This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. We're always taking you to your highest vibe. It's about mind, body, energy. Look, we need the best of modern medicine, but we also need to recognize the power and strength of alternative sources of healing, health, nutrition, all of those things. That's why we do this show. That's why I'm always excited when we have guests that have that alignment. And it ultimately starts with me, your host, Ryan Alford, and Chris Hansen. What's up, Chris?
What's up, brother? How are you today?
I'm great, man, because look, we've got an acclaimed author and we've got someone that's right in the same line of how we think and can tell some amazing stories. We've got Philippa Leseberg. Hey, Philippa.
Hi, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, excited to have you. Excited to talk about your story. While it is a bit of a tearjerker at times, it needs to be told, and really appreciate what you've done. She's the author of His Name is Eric, which is available on Amazon, and her website. We'll have access to those links on all of our show notes. But Philippa, we like to keep this a little bit of banter back and forth, but we want, certainly to set the table for our audience. Let's just start with your journey to wellness here. I mean, it's and ultimately the story of the book and things like that. I mean, maybe just set the table for everyone listening on a little bit of that journey, and then we can kind of kick around a few thoughts.
Absolutely. Well, I think even from childhood, I was aware of healthy eating. We were a little bit embarrassed actually growing up because my mom would give us food that wasn't necessarily as fancy looking as some of our friends had. And my mother actually realized at 2 years old when I stopped nursing and went on to dairy milk, she noticed I got 2 big patches of eczema on my cheeks and on the backs of my hands. And she figured out, the doctors didn't put 2 and 2 together, but she knew straight away that the dairy products were giving me eczema. And even today, you might come across doctors that haven't put 2 and 2 together in that regard. Then fast forward to when I was living in London, we had a close family friend over there, and I went to visit with her, and she was diagnosed with a fairly serious cancer. And she had changed everything in her whole house to organic, down to the last stick of butter. And I was really fascinated about that and her journey. So when I moved to the US, I started in Detroit, of all places, Detroit for 4 years. And
very healthy city.
Yeah, way to move right in,
I mean, normally it's like Auckland, London, Paris, or
Detroit
something.
Motor City.
Detroit Motor City.
Motor cities. Exactly.
I love
So I know. And so I was there for 4 years and then 10 years in Hawaii. And now I've been in Seattle for 14 years.
Wow.
And then my last, 30 years it took me to learn, to really understand the power of organics. And now I've been organic, let's say, in terms of my eating and food choices for 30 years. So now you know my age.
Yeah. When I hear organic eating, Philippa, like my mind goes a little twisted. I'll just be honest, because like it gets so confusing for me when I go to the store as someone that has, what I consider to be a growing and popular wellness show. I am the everyman as it comes to like confusion on what to eat, when to eat, like on the organic side, because it's just, I wouldn't call it misinformation, just confusing. Like
there's a lot of labels that say organic, but it's not healthy, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I think eating whole foods is going to be, if you have to meet it halfway, at least start with eating real food around the edges of the supermarket. Let's say, as soon as you start going into the interior, you're getting all the processed stuff and pre-prepared food and so on. So vegetables, if you're a meat eater, healthy meats, you can buy organic meat. And sometimes, you can get some at a supermarket, but you might want to get it from somewhere else as well, like local farmers, for example. And I mean, here's how I look at it. If it's not grown organically, it's grown with pesticides, with some exceptions. So, for example, if you can buy some local produce, and it might say no spray, that just means that they haven't got maybe the money, the resources to go through the organic certification process. But essentially, anything that you're eating has been sprayed, or, and in the case of bread, let's say, wheat has been sprayed with Roundup resistant sprays and chemicals, and these are forever chemicals that stay in your body. And to get a good production of wheat, they spray right up until the last moment so that it sprouts and you get a better production. But feeding our kids and ourselves bread that's not organic, that's what you're eating. I'm not an expert in all of this. It just makes common sense that if it's not organic, it's been grown with some form of pesticide, insecticide, herbicide, something.
Do you think ultimately, I'm going to lead the witness and I kind of know the answer or assume the answer, but I've been known to do this. I might wish my cousin's a lawyer. He always says, you should have been a lawyer. Like, you lead the witness better than anybody I know. But is all that stuff killing us ultimately? Like, is the increases in cancer itself, like, at least on a really high level, to blame for that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was a very leading question, but yes, I truly believe that's the case. Yes.
Yeah.
And I know everybody's like, oh my gosh, this person I know has got cancer. My mother, father, brother, sister, cousin. Oh my gosh. Oh, someone I know just died last week. It's everywhere now. And if you have a look at the statistics in terms of, and the correlation of when they started to do this mass spraying on our, the mechanization of the farms and the mass spraying, that's when, the cancer started. And, we met a bunch of people along the journey, including those who landed in San Aviv in Mexico, where we ultimately ended up as well. I can talk about that more later, that were sitting there with their cancers, dealing with that, trying to do alternative treatments after having, sprayed Roundup for, one guy was a landscaper and had been spraying Roundup his 20, 30-year career. And he was there. And, there's a big lawsuit, a Class A action lawsuit with billions of dollars being paid out to individuals due to specific correlation between the sprays on the, in their lives and getting cancer. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is a very common one that you get from Roundup and so on, and that's what my husband had. He was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Talking with Philippa Leseberg, author of His Name is Eric. Obviously, a lot of strength and power in what you've learned and what you put into the book, and sort of this alternative path that you probably ultimately now not only profess, but probably believe heavily in. I mean, but talk about what parts of writing the book and that story that would make sense, for our audience in kind of connecting those dots and ultimately, what your belief is and in these alternative channels.
So first of all, there's prevention. So there's a lot of things that we can be doing just in our everyday life. Healthier cleaners in the house, healthier deodorant, healthy skincare and shampoo, and food that we eat, and exercise, and all these things are all preventative, right? And I know that you've had some really amazing people on your show talking about supplementation from the Life Extension crowd, yes, for example. Amazing stuff. And I've been learning a lot when listening to those episodes.
Yeah.
So that's really good stuff. Yeah. Yes. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to prevent. But once you find yourself sitting in an office across from someone with an oncology badge, white coat, and they're like, "Wow, we're really sorry to say, but you've got stage 4 something something cancer, or stage 3 or 2 or whatever." That's a big thing to hear, and immediately, cancer is a scary word. A lot of people just automatically go into fear, and they suddenly put themselves on a lower level, put the doctor team up on a pedestal, and they believe and they put all their trust there. They put their life in the hands of the doctors wearing the white coats. And the truth is, they're human.
I can relate to a lot of that. My wife went through breast cancer.
Oh
And
boy.
so just last year. So I
Oh boy.
have been down that road, and it's and she's, over. I mean, it's never over, but came on the other side of it. So I'm familiar with all that terminology and everything like that. And the absolute 100% lack of solutions or ideas outside of, those tried and true supposedly things. And, now on medication, to essentially keep her in menopause, to keep, to suppress all of her hormones. And so I can write a book on that.
Yes, you could. And people gobble up stories. When I was posting on Facebook as we were going through this journey, when we're doing the traditional treatments in the US, I just posted occasionally, but we were shocked, at people's responses, and the fascination they had with, because sometimes when you have a cancer event in a family, it's so shocking, and what you go through is so horrible. It's horrific, that you just go. Sometimes you go inwards, and you don't ask for help, and you just try to survive. You stick to your house, and you go to the treatments, and here and there, and you don't talk to people. You don't share it on social media, and you just go through it kind of alone. Whereas, my 2 girlfriends that had already been to Sarnaviv, they had posted about their breast cancer journeys, and Sarnaviv in Mexico, and so that gave me confidence to post. And then, as soon as my now late husband saw the responses that people were, typing, like, "Oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. Oh, you guys are inspiring me to, take better care of my health." And then, of course, all the, bless yous, God bless, good healing energy, juju coming your way. So there was a lot of, prayer and energy healing sent our way, which, it all helps, right? So,
Yeah, it
it's
does.
all about the inspiration.
Philippa, talk to me about like the specific alternative treatments and what they are, and through your own experience and maybe even what you've learned after the fact.
Yes. So what I can do is share what some of the treatments they gave my husband in Mexico. And I want to be clear that in this clinic in Mexico, and there's a few of them down there that are treating cancer patients, because they can do things that the AMA won't let them do up here, American Medical Association, FDA, you name it, all the big associations and the boards and so on up here. There's, I think I'm just going to come out and say it. You can always edit if you feel like you need to, but there's a lot of money involved in cancer treatments, and I think that's a part of why there's such a push to stick with within the traditional, within the wheelhouse. And in Mexico they don't have that same oversight, and so and I think it's really up to the individual too. If they want to go all natural or a mix of both, let them do it. And the clinic that we went to in Sarnaviv, which by the way means long healthy life, because okay, it's all very well having a long life, but you want to be healthy too, right? And I just heard you say that in one of your podcasts I was listening to this earlier this morning. It's down there. They did, so for sure they did hyperbaric, and they had a hard shell hyperbaric. So it was full on the big ones that they use for divers when they get the bends. And that's more impactful on the body's cells than the soft shell that I go into, once or twice a week as preventative. So the hyperbaric was a big thing. They have a lot of IV drips. They do high dose vitamin C. They do. She gave him turmeric or curcumin, which is very well known, well researched for thousands of years to be anti-inflammatory and cancer tumor reducing. But you don't hear doctors talking about that in this country. But he got full on drips through the IV of turmeric and curcumin, these bright gold, like it's worth its weight in gold in a way. So chemo, we would call that liquid poison, and the turmeric we were calling liquid gold. They did something called transfer factors. So many IVs, and they tailor the IVs to all the individuals that are there. They also did something called ozonating the blood. They would take the blood out, ozonate it, and pop it back in again. And all these treatments are designed to reduce inflammation. And by the way, inflammation is a word you don't hear much in the US. Doctors don't talk about it. If I had a dollar for every time they say something like, "Oh, don't worry about it, it's just a little bit of inflammation," and then they don't talk about it after that, I think I would have a lot of money, right? So but inflammation is something. Inflammation is the start of something. It should be really important, and that's why Tony Robbins with his book Life Force and all these early diagnostic tools that he was introducing in the book. These are all really critical things because you want to get. I mean, if you're going to have to get cancer, if it happens to you and it's in your cards, stage 0 or 1 is the time to get it, right? Because then you have a lot more choices. You don't have to go the full route of the traditional at that point. Anyway, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second there, but back to what they were doing in Sarnaviv. They also have infrared saunas. They were doing massage, like a very special sort of energy healing massage. They have energy healers down there they were doing something called body code. And that was looking at the emotional and spiritual connection to where you had disease in your body. And this one lady was incredibly intuitive. She would say something like, so you have, you've taken on board something that from your mother. She felt hopeless and helpless when she was younger, and a couple of incidents that happened to her when she was young, and you've just taken that on board, and you've put that into your liver. And then I'm looking at Eric because he has cancer in his liver, right? So it's amazing what the energy healing can do. And there's different forms of energy healing. Even sometimes you can get energy healing with horses and dogs. And if you can get into the ocean, which is what I did for 10 years, I swam with wild dolphins for 10 years in Hawaii. I had a business doing that. You get in the water with the dolphins. This is all different forms of energy healing.
Chris, questions, thoughts for Philippa?
Yeah, because obviously we always want to give people some actionable advice. Philippa, throughout all these experiences, right? Especially, I'm intrigued by Mexico, especially because that's becoming more talked about. Mel Gibson was talking about, I think, with Joe Rogan a couple of weeks ago. He brought his dad down there. What are some of its, top 3 or 5 tools, modalities, practices that you've taken either from there or throughout this experience? You mentioned you're big in preventative, ozone, stuff like that. What are some of these things that people can do that you do every day that is preventative?
I'll hold up my juices. This is one thing that you can be doing, juicing and smoothies, because it's a way to, juicing takes the fiber out, smoothies keeps it in, but it's just a way to get a lot of nutrition into the body all at once. So I would say, in terms of your diet, maybe add in some juicing. Get yourself a juicer. Get yourself a Vitamix. And start adding in some of those things. I would say also related to diet, go organic. Now, if places like LA have even a lot of organic restaurants. When I was down there recently, I couldn't believe the amount of organic restaurants that were available. Here in Seattle, they're a bit lazy. They haven't done a lot of that. There's only a few of them. But if you can eat organic at home at the very least, that's huge. Less microwaving, more heating up stuff on the stove, less fast food. I can't tell you. I mean, the numbers that the amount of the tonnage of fast food that's consumed every day in this country is just shocking. I mean, it's incredible. And I think people think that they're getting nutrition from this food, and they're not. Absolutely not.
Calories maybe, but not nutrition.
Yes, calories. That's exactly right. So, it's less fast food, more home cooked meals. If you're not doing a regular exercise program, at the very least, start walking. Get off the couch. Instead of watching, 3 or 4 hours of TV every night, go walking for one of those hours. And if you can't do an hour, start with 5 minutes, then go to 20, then go to half an hour. And before you know it, you'll be doing your hour. And do some weights. You can do little weights at home even. You don't have to be a member of the gym, but if you are a member of the gym, you know what to do there. I have a personal trainer that I've been using. At first, I wanted to go twice a week to learn some of the good techniques. But now he's my accountability partner. Now I still see him a year later, twice a week doing weights. Because there's so much research that points to the fact that we need that. So diet, exercise, and weights are sort of related to that. Less fast food, and then if you it takes a bit of some resources to join some of these clinics, but if you can do it, hyperbaric IVs, especially when you feel yourself coming down with something. You can do hot and cold showers. Sanofi, they taught us to do, hot showers, and then you turn it all the way down and you're in the cold shower. That's a bit easier than getting into an ice bath. There's a lot of talk about, icing these days.
Oh yeah. Krista and I did it last week for
the
show. I don't know that I've thawed back out yet, but
the shower one's huge. I actually learned that in drug treatment and rehab to do the cold. And I've done it literally since then, like 15 years. I'd always put it on cold every time I end in a shower.
Yes.
And it changes your frequency, just to put it simply.
Yeah. I mean, when I go from the hottest of hot to all the way cold, I mean, I do a shout. I'm like, whoa, but it just feels so good. You just feel the energy, come back. Yeah. So there's dry brushing. Dry brush your skin. Mm-hmm. Your skin is a big detoxer. And you just have to go, along your body like this with a dry brush. There's brushes that are designed for that, and do your whole body, and that's before the shower. So these are all really basic things. Some cost some money and some don't. So for those that don't have a lot of extra right now, then you can still do the exercise. You can still choose the food that you eat, less microwave, more heating up on the stove or cooking inside the oven. These are things that don't cost extra money that you can do.
Love it. Actionable,
easy, actionable,
reasonable, practical. Yeah. Philippa, where can everyone learn more about the book and everything you're doing?
So my website is philippaleseberg.com, and so you can order the book through the website or go on Amazon and just look up His Name is Eric. And you can get it. Currently, it's available on paperback or Kindle version, e-version. I will be doing an audio version. Just haven't done that yet. I keep getting asked about that for those that struggle with reading and they prefer to listen. But philippaleseberg.com is a good place to start, and you can sign up on the newsletters there too to get updates. And I've just started blogging as well with some of the stuff that we've been talking about today.
Philippa, powerful journey. And really appreciate your time and, for spreading the word of alternative treatments and how they can be used and considered in really painful points in people's lives.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great experience being on the show, and I really fully support everything that you guys are doing. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thanks, Philippa.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. It was amazing.
Hey guys, you know where to find us, vibescience.com. We're spreading the good word. We're here to empower you, taking you to your highest vibe. We'll see you next time.
The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.